Let me tell you something right now. The John Wick franchise is probably going to go down as the greatest action movie franchise ever. And there were some complaints, that the second and third movie didn't really live up to the first movie because the choreography was a little bit more slow, a little bit more sluggish. And for the most part, I usually point this out to people. The first three John Wick movies happen across like 2 weeks. Yeah. Everything you see in the first movie, second movie, and third movie happened, I think it's like a span of like 2 to 3 weeks. The first movie happens at the end of November, and then I think John Wick 3 happens like sometime before Christmas, which means that throughout that entire time, John was getting his ass whooped. Like, the reason why he was so sluggish in the second and third movie has everything to do with the fact that he hasn't really had any time to rest, especially when you look at the second and third movie back to back, because at the end of the second movie, like, he's beaten to hell and back, and he has to run for his life, and then the third movie literally picks up 5 minutes after the end of the second movie. So the choreography fit with the state that John's in. John is not in this state in this movie. My man is fresh. He has been underground with the Borough King, Lawrence Fishburne, training for what seems like months. Now, there's a tie-in movie called The Ballerina that we're supposed to be getting at some point in time. That's supposed to take place between the end of John Wick 3 and the beginning of John Wick 4, where while he's down there in that dungeon training, he actually takes on a protege / apprentice known as the Ballerina. We see her in John Wick 3 for like half a second where she's dancing on the stage and then she tells her to stop. I'm hoping that movie is dope as hell, because this movie probably added 4 people that I would love to see spin-offs for, and I do not have my phone. Oh well. Is his name Hiroyuki Sanada? Great addition. Love the fact that he's the head of the Osaka Continental. Perfect choice to join the universe. Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen's character deserves his own spin-off. Not only does he deserve his own spin-off, I feel like there's enough content there with the character that you can probably make 1, 2, or 3 movies just about him. Fantastic addition to the entire universe. I want to see more from his character, because his character was legitimately a standout for me, where there was a point in time where I didn't even realize that I had low-key stopped rooting for John, and I was kind of rooting for his character to survive, at least for the journey that John was going on in this movie. I was like, I understand the journey you're going on, John. You want that revenge, but my man is fighting for something that he holds dear. He's basically you from the first movie. Difference is, the person he loves is still alive, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep them that way. Like I said, fantastic addition. I don't remember his name, but he's the tracker in this movie. The new addition, black dude with the dog, fantastic. I want to see more from him, because he has a scrapbook that reminded me of Nathan Drake in Uncharted, where he's flipping through these pages and you see all of these different designs for different assassins and logos and things. I want to take a journey through that book and just explore the John Wick universe. And I like the fact that I feel like every John Wick movie builds on the idea and the mythos of the high table. Like in the first movie, it's a whisper in the background, like a shark off in the distance that John doesn't have to worry about. And then in the second movie, you had Santino D'Antonio roll in and completely blow up John's life and bring him to the forefront of the high table. And then in the third movie, now the high table sees him as an enemy and they're essentially hunting him, and he's trying to survive now that he's basically excommunicado persona non grata. This movie is bringing all of that full circle, where he's basically fighting for his final freedom. Absolutely friggin' love it. There's some questions in the background that I have in regards to one or two characters that essentially just kind of disappeared. We get the return of the Ruska Roma, which is John's family, but we don't get the return of the Ruska Roma leader from New York. I'm guessing it's because she's in New York and he's dealing with another faction of his family. The High Table leader, I kind of wish we had gotten more information. The dude's just out in the desert chilling, and I kind of want to know more about him and like his whole, because he's known as the Elder, and I'm like, I want to know more about the Elder. And we see the Elder again, but we don't really get a lot of information. This movie is fantastic. It is fantastically shot. There is an action sequence that reminded me of is that Hotline Miami, the video game, where it's like a top-down shooter where John is just going through the building wiping people out. He gets his ass beat in this movie. The comedy hits, doesn't feel forced. Fantastic. One of the issues I had with John Wick 3 Parabellum is that Zero kind of felt cartoonish. You don't get the cartoonishness here. It's more of a natural feeling, like Donnie Yen's character being blind and not really giving a shit, and in the middle of a gunfight where people are basically like killing each other, he's just doing like some really mundane he's doing like this really mundane task, pissing off the other assassins. That's funny. I love that. The humor actually hit in this movie. And not only did the humor hit in the movie, you got to see just how scummy the High Table actually is, where it's like Winston said in the very first movie, which was a nice callback, no one truly ever does get out. And there are multiple characters introduced in this that basically show that no matter what exactly it is that they do, no matter how good you are, no matter who the friends is that you make, you are stuck. And I like that we explored that more with different characters and the way in which not only they interact with each other, but how they view the High Table. I feel as though we could do an entire movie of just stuff in Osaka or such stuff in Japan. Japan was such a super dope setting. I like the fact that depending on where you went in the world, the way in which the mercenaries fought was completely different. Like in Japan, bows and arrows. You go over to Berlin, it's more like axes, shotguns, assault rifles. You go back to America, it's more pistols, ARs, shotguns. Love it. Every single area got its own distinct feel. The High Table got an even better feel. This movie is fantastic, but it's one of those movies that it feels a little bit too long. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the entire ride, but it just felt a little bit too long. Like you know, a movie that you can sit down and you can watch, but you know that if you were watching it at your house, there were probably about 2, 3, maybe 4 scenes that are about 5-10 minutes long that you're probably just gonna skip past to get to the better scenes. It kind of felt like that at certain points in time. My favorite action movie ever is Mad Max Fury Road. I can sit down and I can watch that movie on loop for an entire week and I can never get bored. I feel as though Mad Max Fury Road is the perfectly structured action film, where there's like a 30-minute action sequence, then there's like 2-3 minutes of downtime. Then there's a 30-minute action sequence, then there's like 2-3 minutes of downtime. Then there's like a 10-minute action sequence, 5 minutes of explaining what's going on in the world, 5 minutes of probably setting up the next big action sequence, 45-minute action sequence, 10-minute celebratory finale. Fantastic. But with John Wick, it's more like non-stop action. From the moment John shows up on the scene, there really isn't a lot of downtime for you to catch your breath, and that can be a little bit exhausting. But for the most part, this is, if I was to score it, I would say that the first John Wick movie is still my favorite. This one would be my second favorite, and then I would put John Wick 2 and Parabellum. John Wick 3, in my opinion, is the weakest one in the bunch, but 1 and 4, fantastic. Now, the plan was originally that we were going to get a 5th one. Doesn't seem like we're getting a 5th one. initially they were supposed to be filmed back to back, but the director and Keanu Reeves basically came out and said that this is going to be like a break. They're going to like put the brakes on the character for a while, and if they feel like going back into the character at some point in time down the line, they will. But if they never choose to go back, this is a fitting end. This is a fantastic end to like the entire run. I like this movie, like I said, because of the fact that it's like 3 hours of non-stop action, which is amazing because there are some fantastic set pieces in this. It can feel a little bit exhausting, but I feel as though a lot of those issues are going to be more or less course corrected when you get to sit down and watch it at home. Like I said, you're going to be skipping past the parts that irritate you to get to the parts that you really, really fucking enjoy. But yeah, John Wick, go check it out. It is fantastic. Comment down below, let me know what you think about the movie. Let me know what you think about the entire franchise in general. Like I said, John Wick is definitely one of those franchises that is top tier. Probably the best action movie franchise we've ever had. I'm probably going to put the John Wick franchise above Die Hard. That's gonna start a fight. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.